The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. I'm David Pakman. Louis Motamedi sitting across from me. We'll talk about the Sarah Palin blood libel gate in a second. Saying hello, of course, to everybody on our Ustream.tv channel and chat room. We're actually going to do something. You guys will get the chance today to choose the first story, one of the stories we're going to do later on in the show. I'll give you three options. We'll keep an eye on the chat. The one that is, I don't know, that people seem the most interested in, we'll talk about it. Here's the three options. Number one, our old friend, Pastor Steven Anderson. Remember him from Arizona? Mm-hmm. He now says, I am angry that the SPLC is calling me a hate group, but we hate gay people. And if that makes us a hate group, we're a hate group. That's one option. Number two, there's a new story about corn syrup having mercury in it, the high fructose corn syrup that's in so many products. We can talk about that. Or we can talk about Illinois maybe getting rid of the death penalty. So let us know on the Ustream chat room which you would prefer, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I don't know what your vote is, Louis, but don't tell us because we don't want to taint the voting pool, right?
Right.
We can't disenfranchise people.
True that.
I did an interview with, to get to Gabrielle Giffords a little bit, I did an interview a couple of days ago on the Alan Nathan Show, and he is a self-described moderate or centrist, and during the interview, the premise of the interview was, is media rhetoric actually at all responsible for what happened in Arizona? It's a fair question. And during the discussion, he brought up, well, number one, he brought up, and this interview is on our YouTube channel, brought up the idea that there's actually just as much or more violent rhetoric from the left, something I dismissed at face value, but I think very telling in thinking about where we have to look to find examples, and we can find examples of violent rhetoric from both sides. He mentioned, well, what about Jeremiah Wright? And if you're saying, who's Jeremiah Wright? I don't blame you for forgetting already. He's the pastor that Barack Obama not necessarily denounced or renounced, but said he didn't really buy into Jeremiah's complete worldview, and he had said things like "God damn America" and so on and so forth. And the fact that many conservatives are going back to that as an example that is somehow representative of left-wing rhetoric, I mean, that guy was, number one, a complete political outsider. I don't remember anybody really, Louis, even at the time, putting much stock in what he said, other than conservatives who, much like the Obama is Muslim stuff, were grasping at straws, were they not?
Yeah, just trying to put him with Barack Obama, make him look bad.
That's right. And if we actually look at who now is denying that they're involved in this violent rhetoric, Glenn Beck recently said, in light of the Gabrielle Giffords incident in Arizona, where we had multiple casualties and even more injuries, he doesn't use violent rhetoric on or off the show. And it's so absurd. I'm not even going to insult the audience, Louis, by putting together a bunch of clips of Glenn Beck, because if you watch this show, you probably already know that it's complete BS. Obviously, nobody believes Glenn Beck doesn't use violent rhetoric. And to be honest, if you're part of the audience that doesn't believe that, me putting together a few clips isn't going to influence you in any way.
I think we could probably put together multiple shows.
Just right.
Clips of what we're talking about.
And people anyway would say they're taken out of context or they're not representative, so we'll skip it. But there is one thing I want to show you, and this is hilarious. Glenn Beck has on his website one of these, I don't know if it's a random image generator or just one of these where there's 4 image options and they will kind of play as a slideshow. But let's put the picture up on the screen for our TV audience. There is one that came up, and it's just so funny because it's, assuming that this was done somewhat randomly, there is in the sidebar of the website, kind of as part of the background, there's Glenn Beck kind of looking around a corner, very James Bond-like, with a handgun, okay? And then right next to that, there's a very friendly-looking picture of Glenn Beck saying, "We must stand together against all violence." So even on Glenn Beck's own site, apparently, the contradictions and the hypocrisy, they're within inches of each other on Glenn Beck's own site. You don't even need to look at other sites to figure out Glenn Beck is completely unbelievable when he says that. Now, some people are saying, well, you know what? We don't really know the exact motivations for what took place in Arizona. Jared Lee Loughner's motivations in this. And you know what? You're right. We can't know all of the motivations, and we can't know exactly what percentage any particular aspect played.
Right.
But
I think it's fair that we could make an extreme example and say, what if this kid had never been exposed to any media, any television, any radio for his adult life, for the duration of his adult life?
We don't know. Listen, we just don't know. But my point is, if we're going to say that because we can't be absolutely sure that one particular aspect influenced him, we can't address it. So in other words, we can't prove that violent conservative rhetoric influenced Jared Lee Loughner. We also can't prove that getting kicked out of college didn't push him over the edge. And we will never know. I mean, inherently, even if we were to be told by someone like Loughner what his motivations were, if he is insane, like many people claim, why would we take him at his word anyway, right? But to use that as an excuse to not address rhetoric, what we're hearing from many conservatives saying, listen, we can't be sure that violent media rhetoric was a factor here. Therefore, we shouldn't even consider that it might be a problem, and we shouldn't even talk about how to dial it down. That's bogus. We will never get anywhere. It's an anti-progress statement. Where could we possibly get, Lewis, by saying if we don't have undeniable proof that something was a factor, like violent rhetoric, we shouldn't even address it? We'll get nowhere, will we?
No, I don't think so. But what's interesting is the right is not denying that the violent rhetoric exists.
No,
right?
they're saying it was not a factor.
Not a factor.
Individual media
and
outlets.
Other people are saying that there's violent rhetoric on both sides.
Individual media outlets like Glenn Beck are denying they're involved. Now, speaking of violence as a result of these things, sales of semi-automatic Glocks have actually gone up significantly since this shooting. According to Bloomberg, one-day sales of pistols in Arizona went up 60% on January 10th, the Monday after the shooting, compared to the previous week. Now, some are saying that I was incorrect to say the assault weapons ban expiring had anything to do with this. Jared Lee Loughner could have gone on this rampage even with only 10 bullets in his gun instead of 30. And you would be right, he could have. But still, how can we just not discuss that? And obviously I must have been wrong because 30 bullets, you don't need 30. 10 would be enough normally, but wait a second. Hunters need Glocks. That's the argument we hear. The hunters, it's a sport. The hunters need these weapons. Because if you get attacked by 15 deer in the woods, obviously you take out a Glock, a handgun, with 30 bullets in it. That's how you defend yourself. And if you can only have 10 bullets, you'll be at risk, will you not?
I've met a lot of hunters. I've never heard that.
And I think really it's time to retire because of this, we need more guns. If everybody had guns, then this wouldn't have happened.
We have a good email to read later about this.
And the reality is, this was a legal gun Jared Lee Loughner had. I mean, this is a laughable idea.
Yeah.
He had a legal gun. And by the way, the more people with legal guns, if a percentage of people are going to be lone nutty gunmen, as many people claim, the more legal guns that are out there, the more people with legal guns that are going to go nuts.
Right. And some people say that that if everyone owned a gun, people would perhaps be more respectful. There would be less shootings because you'd be afraid of getting shot yourself. I think if everyone owned a gun, this whole country would be like a John Woo movie. Yeah,
you're not wrong. And the last thing on this, just conflicting evidence, we'll get to Sarah Palin now. A lot of Fox News, what do we even call them? People. I can't even say journalists. I can't even say analysts. I can't say news anchors because it's certainly not news. Are demanding that Sheriff Dupnick, the guy from Arizona who said actually the Arizona political climate is a factor here, they are now saying he needs to produce specific undeniable evidence of that. Since when has evidence ever mattered on Fox News? I mean, honestly, since when has undeniable evidence of anything that's said been even remotely important to what's reported there? That's the question I would ask. We had a couple of speeches as a result of the Gabrielle Giffords shooting. We had John Boehner, who spoke. He actually cried. And you know what?
Again, oh my God.
His crying actually made sense in this context. For once, it actually made sense for Boehner to cry. So that's that. We don't even need to address what he said.
Do we have it?
I didn't even get it. I don't want to even go into that.